I got this brother-in-law who's always making fun of me because I'm not good enough to be married into his family. Yeah, I get it. I'm not rich. I was born poor, and they're rich. Who cares? I'm in love with my husband, and he loves me. And he always tells me how embarrassed he is of his brother's attitude, but I have to put up with it, and I'm darn near done with this. So I have one thing to say to my brother-in-law about a little secret that I found out about him. Since my childhood, I've always imagined being married into a loving family. My family was not exactly the fairy tale type. My parents divorced even before I could differentiate alphabets and colors. So I grew up without a permanent mother figure, and I kept wishing that I would at least be married into a big and happy family just to compensate me for my broken family. Well, those wishes and imaginations became a reality. I got blessed with the best mother-in-law and father-in-law who loved me like their own child. My only problem was my arrogant and proud mother-in-law, who always used the slightest opportunities he had to embarrass and straight up humiliate me. I met my husband Dean many years ago at a mutual friend's housewarming party, and we clicked instantly. Honestly, on that day, I wasn't in my best dress or in my best of mood even. I almost took it out on Dean when he approached me. My boss at the time was giving me a tough time at work, and the pressure, it was getting to me. The only reason I attended the housewarming party was because the celebrant was a regular client at the company I worked for, and she had personally invited me to come, and she made it crystal clear that she would not be happy if I didn't. Already, I knew that I did not belong to the social class of people who would be attending the housewarming party, but I made my mind to attend against all odds. Well, that was how I met my husband that day. Dean, an obviously rich yet humble, handsome guy. Though we started off on the wrong foot, Dean and I spent the rest of that evening drinking and talking about regular things. At the end of the evening, we exchanged contact information, even though he assured me that he would call me. I didn't think he would because it was very obvious that he and I were on different ends of the, quote, financially stable pool. But to my greatest surprise, he called me back that night and we talked for hours. Long story short, Dean and I became friends, and we had our first date the same week that we met, and with time, our friendship blossomed into something more intense, and we both could not deny that we were deeply in love with each other. After 5 months of being friends and getting to know each other better, Dean and I made our relationship official, and shortly after that, he introduced me to his parents. The first day I met Dean's parents, it was almost like a dream come true. His parents were very welcoming, and they embraced me as their own biological daughter. Dean's mom was the sweetest. She showered me with so much love and even gifted me some things on the first day that we met. She was beautiful, easygoing, and very humble, and I could tell that Dean got all this humility from her. His father was a bit strict, but he was loving too. Before I officially met Dean's family for the very first time, I already knew Dean had a younger brother, Charlie, but I knew very little about him because Dean rarely spoke of him. You see, Charlie was the second and last child of the family, and by barely spending minutes with him, anybody could tell that he was the golden child and the spoiled brat of the house. That day, the idea was for me to have a dinner with Dean and his entire family, but upon getting there, Dean's mother announced that Charlie would be a little late for the dinner. I think after about 4 hours of waiting to meet Charlie, he finally arrived. And as soon as he got into his parents' house, he snubbed me in the living room and went straight to greet his mom. After greeting his own mother, who was in the living room with me, my mother-in-law introduced me to him as Dean's girlfriend. And the next thing we heard was a loud, heartfelt laugh. Even his mother was surprised to see him laugh like that, and she was so confused. When he was done laughing, he turned in my direction and said, "This is Dean's girlfriend? The same Mary Dean has been talking about. Please tell me you're joking." And he turned back to his mother and poured a drink for himself. Guys, I was so embarrassed. And to date, I just cannot forget that day. I don't think I ever will. The rest of the evening was so embarrassing because Charlie made it so obvious that he didn't like me. His parents tried their best to caution him, and they even warned him several times to watch his mouth. But he did not listen. Despite me, he would talk about an expensive clothing brand and brag about how he and his wife stopped for clothings and bags worth thousands of dollars. And then he would, turn to me and say something like, "Oh, my bad, I forgot that somebody on this table cannot relate." Then he would smirk and lock his eyes with me to see how I would react. While Charlie was humiliating me like that, it was obvious too that Dean was not happy. And everybody could tell from the way that he used his cutlery and the way he was eating. My mother-in-law had to beg Dean many times not to let his younger brother get to him, and that was how he made it through the night. It was after that evening that I found out that Dean did not invite Charlie to have dinner with us or even meet me. It was Charlie who invited himself because he wanted to see the kind of woman Dean was introducing to their parents. So, according to Dean, since he and Charlie were teenagers, they never got along, because Charlie would always deliberately get on his nerves. To Charlie, the world was his stage, and he was a renowned actor. That's why he always acted like the world revolved around him, and he could say anything to anybody without caring about their feelings. Since that day, I knew I had to avoid Charlie, and that's exactly what I did, until Dean and I got married after 2 years of dating. I know some of you will say I should have given Charlie a piece of my mind, or shown him how to treat me, but if you all knew Charlie, you would all agree that it was just better to avoid him for the sake of sanity. Sincerely, I believe that if I avoided Charlie, he would mind his business and let me be. But I was wrong. Charlie did not stop with the embarrassment. In fact, he didn't directly attack me for looking poor and below his family standards. He would attack Dean for marrying a pauper and spoiling their family's name. In fact, 2 months before our wedding, Dean got into a nasty fight with Charlie because he found out that Charlie was telling their mutual friends nasty things about me. He even joked and said that Dean picked me up from the brothel and was trying to clean me up so nobody would know. Not only that, Charlie took it upon himself to uninvite many of the people Dean invited for our wedding. Well, he was claiming that he was saving them from the embarrassment. Unfortunately for Charlie, one of Dean's mutual friends called Dean to report what Charlie had said and done, and this caused a very serious fight between the two brothers. Because of that fight, Dean banned Charlie and his wife from attending our wedding, and they did not even attend. So, despite all that happening, Charlie did not show any remorse or apologize to his brother for all the problems that he caused. He still remained arrogant, and any time he would attend any family function with his wife, he would ensure everybody in attendance heard that Dean married somebody who did not meet their family standard. For the first 2 years of my marriage, I continued to ignore and avoid Charlie, even though his words had gotten to me. Already, there was a rift between him and Dean, and I didn't want matters to escalate. To show how bad it was most times, Dean would purposely not attend some of their family get-togethers or monthly hangouts so he would not have to deal with his arrogant brother. On the other hand, Charlie's wife was also a pain in the butt. She wasn't so different from Charlie. Every time I saw her, she always reminded me of those little queen bee wannabes, from high school, and I hated how she treated me. She only pretended to like me the first few times that we met at the family house. But as time passed, I figured that she was only pretending and she and Charlie were a team. The day I figured out that Charlie's wife didn't like me, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were hosting a private family party to celebrate their marriage anniversary. And Charlie's wife and I were asked, with making some food. Before that day, Charlie's wife and I agreed on different meals that we would make and, how we would assist each other in making them. But after I wasted hours helping her make her meal, when it got to her turn to help me, she pretended that she had an urgent call from work. And she just left me to take care of everything by my lonesome. So I coincidentally returned when I was almost done with the meals. Yep, lucky, right? Now, if all that happened, I would not have been so mad like I was that day. For some weird reason, all the meals I made were terribly salty, and nobody could go beyond the second spoon. They were so salty that we had to throw everything out and focus on only her meals. When that happened, Charlie seized the opportunity to brag about how much of an incredible chef his wife was, and how she could literally cook any type of meal in the world. I felt so embarrassed, and for the rest of the evening I just covered my face in shame. When it was time to go, Charlie's wife came to me and mocked me for making salty meals. Then she said, "Don't worry, there's nothing to be ashamed about. I used to make salty meals 15 years ago, so I guess you'll get there soon. Also, by the way, if you need cooking lessons, don't hesitate to reach out to me and don't worry about paying. We're family after all." Then she just gave me some evil smirk and walked away with pride. The most annoying part was that Charlie was behind me the whole time and he heard everything his wife had said to me. I was so surprised when Charlie patted me on the back and he even said, "Oh, if I were you, I'd go ahead and take those cooking lessons." Then he laughed and walked towards their car. That day I was furious and I felt like ripping their heads off with my bare hands. But I held on to my anger. So, Dean could realize that somebody had tampered with my food because in the years of us being together, I've never made salty food, not even on my tired days. He was mad, but he decided to let things slide, and I just tried so much to let things go. But whenever I remembered facial expressions of all those people after they tasted my food, I couldn't just let it go. I couldn't. For months, I thought of ways to take revenge on Charlie's wife for what she did to me, but no ideas came, and after the last dinner went wrong, we were at Dean's parents' house, and Dean and I had stopped attending some of the family functions. I was still ashamed, and since the incident was fresh in my mind, I wanted the memories to get old a bit. But mother-in-law and father-in-law saw me again. But things did not go according to plan. See, my mother-in-law's 60th birthday came and she begged Dean and me to attend. Well, I guess you could say we couldn't say no. So on D-Day, while all the guests and family members were eating and having a good old time, Charlie announced that he had written a speech for his mom's birthday, and he wanted to read it in front of everyone. Well, guys, the speech ended up being a rain of insults on Dean and me, and Charlie deliberately used the opportunity to mock Dean for his taste in women. He even called me a gold digger in front of everyone, then he bragged with certainty that I didn't love Dean and that I was only with him for his money, because it was the only reason a low-life trench girl like me would marry somebody like Dean. Immediately after he said that, Dean flung his plate at Charlie in anger, and as you can imagine, the rest of the birthday was ruined. I can't tell if my mother-in-law could get things back to the way it was, because Dean and I left after Dean scattered the plates on Charlie's face. From that day till the time I share my story, Dean and I have not visited his parents' house again. Now, the main reason I'm even sharing this story is that 2 weeks ago, while I was at work, I work in a clothing store, a lady came in with a 4 to 5-year-old girl, and she shopped for clothing worth thousands of dollars. For the record, this lady has been a regular customer at her store, and each time she shops, it always rolls into thousands of dollars. As it is my nature, I always try to have a brief and friendly conversation with friendly customers, and I've even built a lot of relationships with them. So, when that lady dropped by the store that day, I spoke to her longer than I've ever spoken to her. Thankfully, our conversations flowed in a good direction, and she opened up about how she had her daughters and how her daughter's father was physically absent from their lives. As somebody from a broken home, I told her I could relate to her story. And I even shared a part of my story with her, and she opened up more to me. So, according to her, she got pregnant by a man who she didn't even know was married, and because it was against her beliefs to, hurt an innocent baby, she decided to keep it. So, the child's father pays child support monthly and takes care of all their needs. After I was done packing our bags, our conversations ended, and I didn't think that I would see her soon until she showed up 2 days ago. Later, she came almost at the closing of our store to urgently shop for some red shoes. Well, I was forced to wait on her. Coincidentally, she immediately paid, and I packed the red shoes for her, and she got a video request from a number saved as C. Well, the shocking part was the picture in the background had a striking resemblance of my brother-in-law, Charlie. Also, as soon as she took the call, she was smiling ear to ear. And she even said, "It's him," and then walked out of the store with her new shoes. Guys, I know this sounds like straight up out of the movies, but it's not. I'm in shock. I haven't told Dean what I saw yet, but I still feel my mind's playing tricks on me. I just don't want to say something I'm not sure of. I still find it impossible that Charlie would have an illegitimate child that no one even knows of, and he has been hiding it perfectly? So, for the past 2 days, I've been unable to sleep. Well, I can't stop thinking about what I saw. Even if that lady comes to our store again, it would be rude of me to question her about her baby daddy. As much as I would love to let this slide and just mind my own business, a part of me really wants to get to the bottom of it. The most frustrating thing is that I can't even ask Dean certain questions about Charlie because they're not on good terms. Even though I don't have a very strong reason to investigate, I feel I should follow my instincts and just do some investigations. If I decided to carry out some investigations and it turns out that Charlie is not the father of the girl, well, then there's no problem. But if he turns out to be, I'll make sure that the whole family hears of it, especially his queen bee wannabe wife. This would just be the perfect revenge for all the humiliation and embarrassment Charlie has brought to me and Dean. But before I carry on, I'm very open to all your suggestions and comments, and a part of me is sure of what I saw, but the other part of me just isn't. Meanwhile, would I be the a-hole for wanting to ruin Charlie's reputation and pay him back for all that he's done to me? Let me know. Update number 1. Hello guys, I've seen all your comments and I'm pleased. Thank you so much for taking the time to leave so many helpful comments and suggestions. I'm so glad that you all support me in this investigation. So, many of you left comments and suggestions that I should look for the lady on social media, and then begin my investigation from there. Well, I followed that suggestion, and it ended up being one of the best suggestions ever. I'll admit that it wasn't easy to find that lady on social media, because there is like a gazillion people with her first name, but after days of constantly searching and filtering, I finally found her. From what I figured from her Facebook post, she gave birth to her daughter the same year Charlie and his wife got married. See, 3 months after my marriage to be precise, so this means Charlie has been cheating on his wife even while they were dating, and the fruit of his infidelity is a 5-year-old daughter named after my mother-in-law. The reason I'm so sure Charlie is the father of that little girl is because it's too much of a coincidence for the girl to bear the same name as Charlie's mom. Also, remember on that day I said I saw a picture that resembled Charlie? The number on the phone was even saved as C, with a love emoji. But after I went through the lady's Facebook/wall profile, I found a post that she made 2 years ago on, her daughter's birthday, where she mentioned her daughter's name and her father's name. Well, her daughter's second middle name, which turned out to be Charlie. I mean, this is too good to be true, right? Well, I've said it, and I'll say it again, this is just too much to be a coincidence, and I don't even want to talk about the uncanny resemblance between her daughter and Charlie. They literally have the same eyes and nose, and I'm not even kidding. I know I desperately want the little girl to be Charlie's illegitimate child, so I can carry out my revenge. But believe me, guys, everything I've shared so far is the God-honest truth. Because of this investigation, it took me weeks to make this update, and I would not dare make things up. The only problem I have is that I literally swept through that lady's Facebook wall and went through her Instagram and Twitter. There's no picture of Charlie alone or with her daughter. Not even one. I have no idea what kind of agreement she had with Charlie that has caused her to not share or post any of the pictures on socials, and without a picture to show that he's the same Charlie, I don't have solid proof, and everything else would just be an assumption. Anyways, these new findings of mine have even pushed me to dig further, and I don't mind paying private investigators at this point to follow the lady closely. It's the only way I'll get solid proof. Right now, I'm still open to your suggestions. Guys, if there's anything you know or think I should do, please don't hesitate to share it with me. That's all the information I have for now, and once I do have a bit of new info, I'll make sure to update you guys, so thank you all for the support. Update number 2. Hey guys, Well, first of all, I just, want to commend you all for your support, but you've really encouraged me and I don't take it for granted. Also, I want to use this medium to apologize for talking so much, and just taking so much time to update. I never knew a proper investigation would take so much time. So, after my last update, I went ahead and hired a private investigator, and so far he's been doing an amazing job. From the following of the lady around, I asked my PI to do a thorough digging on her and to find out who her friends are, family members and neighbors. He delivered. He even went as far as digging up the past neighborhood that the lady used to live in. And to my greatest surprise, I realized that she used to live in the same neighborhood I lived in 5 years ago. No, let me rephrase that. She used to live in the same low-class neighborhood I lived in, and she moved out after only 6 months of living there. In fact, she only moved out there the same year that she gave birth to her daughter. This is to say that the lady also came from a humble background like me, and for some weird reason, her humble background did not stop Charlie from putting her in the family's way. Speaking of Charlie, I have enough hot and steamy tea for you guys. I know you're all wondering if it's the same Charlie, and I, hate to keep you all in suspense, but yes, it's the same Charlie, my prestigious brother-in-law. My instincts were absolutely right, and all of you have no idea how happy I was when my PI showed me the pictures of Charlie, the lady, and his daughter. All the while, Charlie has been sneaking behind his wife's back to visit his daughter. Well, there's actually a particular park where Charlie meets with his daughter twice a month, and for 2 months, plus the PI followed his baby mama around. And that's how he gathered all this information. Also, concerning the part where I believe the lady's pregnancy with Charlie was a mistake, well, I have to say, I hate to be fooled. That pregnancy did not just happen, and the lady lied about not knowing that Charlie was a married man. They've been dating for 2 years before Charlie met and married his same social class wife. And as I write this update, they're still having an affair. A very steamy, hot, romantic, intense affair. My guess is that the lady must have lied to me to cover up being pregnant by another woman's husband. I used to think that Charlie just hated Dean for marrying me, someone below their social class, but this investigation revealed that it's not hate, and has never been hate. My instincts tell me that the reason Charlie was always angry and humiliating me was because his brother Dean did something he could not do. And that was marrying the woman that he loved. With all the evidence I've gathered, my clock says it's revenge time. I'm so excited to pay Charlie's wife a visit, or better yet, tell everybody about Charlie's illegitimate child while we all have dinner as a family. Well, what do you guys think? Which revenge would be better? I can't wait to make another update and tell you how all these things went. Thank you so much for your time and comments. I can't wait. Final update, please subscribe to the channel. Hello everyone, it's with great joy and happiness that I make this update. I know I should have made this update months ago, but I wanted to give you the full gist and not just have to make multiple updates again. So in my last update, I mentioned that I would either pay Charlie's wife a visit to tell her about her husband's illegitimate child, or tell everybody about it over dinner. And you all voted for the latter. Guys, that's exactly what I did, though it wasn't easy pursuing Dean to attend the monthly family dinner with me. But I succeeded, because we had not been to the family dinner in months, especially after the last incident. When Charlie saw Dean and me, he began to mock Dean and say pretty demeaning things. Already, Dean and I had agreed at home that no matter what Charlie would do or say, none of us would react to his words. The whole time he was teasing his brother and insulting me, I kept my cool, because I had a beautiful surprise for him. His wife did not seem like she was in the mood, so she ignored me all throughout it. And after the table was set and everybody started eating, I started a conversation. And then I locked eyes with Charlie and asked him about his daughter. Immediately, I asked the mentioned daughter. He choked on the water that he was drinking and asked, "What daughter?" His wife was also curious to know about the daughter I kept talking about. Scratch that, everybody was curious to know what the daughter was that I was referring to. When everybody kept asking and Charlie did not say a word, I told them. Well, ask Charlie and he would tell them all about his illegitimate daughter. Guys, the moment I said that, Charlie hopped up, yelled at me, and called me a liar. And no one understood why he was so angry, seeing that he was trying to dominate me with his loud, hoarse voice. So I got up, I grabbed my purse, and then I brought out the envelope that contained multiple pictures of Charlie, his daughter, and her affair partner. Then I threw them in front of his wife just as I planned, and when his brother, parents, and wife saw the pictures, their mouth dropped to the floor. And that's when Charlie's wife starts to scream and hit Charlie. My big mouth even told them that Charlie has been dating his baby mama long before he married his own wife. And they were still secretly having an affair. Long story short, after the big reveal, Charlie's parents were so disappointed in him, and his wife even ended things with him. In fact, before the two lovebirds officially divorced, Charlie's wife got her brother, who's an athlete, to give Charlie the beating of his life. It happened that Charlie's brother-in-law paid Charlie an unexpected visit while Charlie was hanging out with his friends at a bar one evening, and he beat Charlie so badly that no one dared to try to stop him or save Charlie. Charlie's friends were so intimidated by the size of Charlie's brother-in-law that they didn't even bother to get involved. Poor Charlie didn't even get the chance to defend himself. Word has it that Charlie had to stay in the hospital for a week. And he could not even press charges because he knew that he was at fault. But I think he didn't press charges because he didn't want to invoke the wrath of his brother-in-law again. Well, now, the icing on the cake is that Charlie's baby mama is currently engaged to another man. And that means that she was cheating on Charlie too. My PI found this out months ago, but I deliberately left it out. Because right now, Charlie's life is a disaster. He hates me for ruining his life and ruining his family, and well, the feeling is mutual, buddy. As for Dean, he's officially cut ties with Charlie when he realized how much of a pretender Charlie was. Well, that's it, guys. Revenge has been served and the truth has been revealed. I can't appreciate your support enough. You're all the best. Thank you. Guys, we find ourselves with another classic karma. You know what? Sometimes karma doesn't find the person it's destined to find until many years down the road, but luckily for this jerk of a brother-in-law, karma found him pretty swiftly. I mean, this dude, he had a absolute arsenal of secrets and red flags, so I don't know why he would go out of his way to make other people feel uncomfortable when he was hiding so much. Anyways, I do want to know your thoughts about it, so guys, if you want to drop your comments in the comment section, I love reading everyone's responses, your comments, your opinions. It's one of my favorite things to do when I create videos, is just read your responses. Guys, my name's Mr. Reddito, and I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more daily videos, consider subscribing. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.